Okay, so now we're going to look at zeros and multiplicities, but they're going to give us a graph. So use the graph of the function of degree 6. Okay, so they tell us the degree, right? Yeah, that's in the directions. So it's degree 6 to identify the zeros of the function and their possible multiplicities. Okay, so we can find the zeros. That's going to go by the x-intercepts, right? So it looks like we have one right here at -3. So zeros. We've got one at -3. Then it looks like we've got one there at -1. So I'm going to spread these out a little bit. And then where else does it cross the x-axis? Yeah, right there, like 4. Okay, that's what it looks like then. Those would be the zeros. Now let's talk about multiplicity. We can tell by looking at the graph if it touches or crosses. Well, so for this one here at -3, it's touching, right? So it's got to be an even multiplicity. Could be 2. I guess maybe it could be 4. We'll come back with that. Could it be 6? No, because you've only got degree 6. So it can't be a 6th degree, because then we wouldn't get those other zeros. Okay, remember the total of the multiplicities has to equal the degree. All right, now let's look at the -1. Looks like it's kind of crossing straight through, so it's probably going to be a multiplicity of 1. I can put the number 1, the digit, so it's probably going to be 1. Okay, and then what's happening here at 4? Well, it's kind of snaking its way through, right? So it's got to be odd. It's not going to be 1. So it's 3. Could it be 5? No, I think it's too big if we make it a 5, right? So it's got to be odd, and it's going to be 3, right? 4 is too big. We couldn't have that because then you'd have like 4, 5, 8, and we only have degree 6. So 4's out. It's got to be 2 for the -3. That's the multiplicity for -3. 1 for the 0, -1, and 3 for the 0, 4. Now, it says use the graph of the functions to identify the zeros. Okay, we did the zeros right here. Now, how do they list the zeros? Most textbooks, I'll check in a minute, most textbooks just list the zeros with commas. They usually just put it that way. Now, let me look in the book and see. They wrote it out kind of weird. Okay, but that's fine. All right, and then what do we have to do? We identify the zeros. Oh, and their multiplicities. Okay, so we could go back and do it that wording I was telling you about. Whoops. So we could say something like -3 is a 0 with multiplicity, I'll just abbreviate it, 2. Okay? So it's real important because a lot of times when we're doing these by hand, the numbers are fairly small and you've got to know which one's which and what we're talking about. We have a 0, we get those off the x-intercepts, we get that off the graph in this case, and then each 0 has a multiplicity. Okay? So that was this part. -3 had a multiplicity of 2. -3 is the 0, 2 is the multiplicity. Then we have -1 is a 0 with multiplicity 1. And then finally, this last one, 4 is a 0 with multiplicity 3. Do these add up to 6? Yeah, they do. So, yeah. I would work on writing it this way. I think, on the exam, I might have a question where you fill in the blank, right? Blank is a 0 with multiplicity blank. I can do it that way, or I've done it in a chart form in the past. But, let's try to be consistent, I guess, with the wording so you know what we're talking about here. They're going to word it a little bit different in the book, and that's fine if you choose to do it that way. I'm just trying to make it a little bit easier for you.